Welcome to this week's Technology for Good show. This is episode 68. I know, yeah, it's mad, isn't it? 68 episodes. And this is my co-host Chris. Chris, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Chris Kernahan. I'm a principal consultant at Bluefin Solutions, an SAP mentor, and a general lover of technology, and especially technology that improves our lives.
Excellent.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
No problem. And myself, Tom Raftery, I'm an industry analyst working for a company called RedMonk. I head up the practice within RedMonk that focuses on energy and sustainability, which we term GreenMonk. And we run this show every week at this time. And I see Karen Tillotson has just checked in. Hi, Karen, welcome to the show. And we have a good few stories this week, but probably a little less than usual because I've been off on holidays. Slacking off, I'm afraid, and having the same amount of research done this week as I should have done. So for regular viewers, you're going to get a few minutes of your life back. So I reckon without further ado, Chris, we'll head straight into the stories, yeah?
Yep, I think so.
Alrighty then. So the first story, and regular viewers will be aware that what we typically do on the show is we start off with a bad news story and then head into the kind of good news stories, bad news setting the scene, and good news showing what technology is able to do to help. And the first bad news story is pretty bad, I gotta say.
Yeah.
This is one out of the NOAA, who I always forget what NOAA stands for. I know it's the
atmospheric
National Oceanic and Atmospheric
Administration, something. Yeah, they administrate the oceans and the atmosphere.
That's right. Big US organization. Kevin Morrow is just asking me on Facebook Messenger, do I have to have a Google Plus account to watch live?
No.
I'm not sure you do. You just go to the account page.
Yeah.
So I'll respond to him there. Chris, will you have a quick chat about this
Yes,
hottest month portending global warming speed up story?
Yes, of course. So I think actually the best thing about this is actually the simplicity of the graph. When you actually start to look at it, you can see how the anomalies actually are increasing vastly over time, especially once you go past 1980. There's no blue in that line at all. So we're actually seeing this Godzilla El Nino coming our way, and we already know that this year it's expected to be an absolutely massive El Nino event coming.
That's right. And there's a couple of things in the story. I mean, the El Nino is going to kick up what was already going to be a hot year into a majorly hot year. The records are being crushed. The first 7 months of the year are 0.85 of a degree centigrade above the 20th century average, which is actually massive. Austria recorded its hottest July since national records began in 1767, which is over 100 years before global records started being kept. And a high pressure dome over the Middle East brought what may be the most extreme heat indices ever recorded in the world on the 31st of July, with a heat index of 74 degrees centigrade,
Wow.
Which is terrifying, absolutely terrifying. And it's what they're saying is not alone is 2015 now easily on track to beat the 2014 record as the hottest year ever, but also 2016 will likely beat that again, just given what's happening with El Nino. So
the interesting thing about the El Nino isn't it, in an El Nino year, Australia actually gets a lot of rain, and the rest of, as it moves west, it gets progressively drier. I think that's the typical progress of an El Nino.
Right. I don't remember, to be honest. If you know,
the only reason why I'm saying is because Australia is actually in the middle. Western Australia is in the middle of pretty bad drought. So when you actually consider that this is supposed to be a major El Nino, if again I remember correctly, Australia is supposed to get an arse load of rain, and it's not, and we're going to have a horrific El Nino anyway. That it's bad on both sides.
Right. Yeah, no, if so, the guy who PM'd me on Facebook, Kevin Morrow, he's actually based in Australia, So there you go, Kevin. If you can answer that, just drop a note into the hashtag Tech for Good. You can see it in what's that called? Little band across the bottom of the screen there. Hashtag Tech for Good. Drop it in there, and we'll see it on Twitter, and we'll get the answer there, Kevin. All right. You can tell him how to practice.
It's all right. Don't worry. I'll keep you right.
Lower third. That's what that's called. The lower third. Just came to me now a year later. So we'll keep going. The next story. Now we're heading into better news at this point. So we've done away with all the bad news, or as much as we're going to show on this show anyway, and we head into better news.
Yes.
And the really good news actually in this one is that the second largest source of electricity is now renewables. The largest source of electricity globally is still coal, unfortunately, but now we've come, and renewables have kind of come up behind that and have taken second place, and are now as I said, the second largest source of electricity generation worldwide. And this figure comes from the International Energy Agency. So you kind of expect that they would know. This isn't coming from anyone who might be biased. It's not coming from Greenpeace or anyone like that. It's coming from, as I said, the International Energy Agency. So I guess there's not much more to say on this story except that it's showing that solar and wind in particular are the ones that are moving up over the years and are now, as I say, in second place behind coal for generation. We obviously need to get coal way, way, way down and get renewables to be number one.
Well, the thing about it is that what you can definitely see that the ability to generate is really good. So it is, and people are doing that. The trick is, again, it's just making sure that the one thing that coal has is a really good ability to transport.
Yeah,
that's such a big thing. So if it's transportable with the battery technology, then it has to go better. It has to increase massively.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of regulation will help to get away from coal as well. I mean, we're seeing that already in the US, for example, as well as other countries. The amount of coal plants being shut down now. They shut down the 4 major ones supplying Beijing in China, for example, recently. That's obviously to do with air pollution there. So. Yeah, that's great news. I see Karim is managing to get in over YouTube as opposed to watching it on the Google Plus page. That's fine. So, Kevin, if you haven't managed to, if you haven't managed to get in, you don't know that you can get in via YouTube, but that works anyway. I see as well, Tammy Paulus is saying, she's mentioned the EPA's Colorado mine spill. And the other, she's doing that, mentioning that in the context of more bad news.
Yeah.
The other really bad news story was the explosion in China, which killed, I think, upwards of 100 people at this point. Huge explosion in a chemical plant there, released.
Terrific.
All sorts of nasty chemicals. Cyanide is one of the main ones, and there's a massive fish kill. I've seen photographs of the rivers around there, and you could walk on the fish that are floating there.
Tom, I'm going to be back in 2 seconds. This is actually my Internet Explorer's crashed on me, so it's asking me to cover the webpage. So if you lose me, I'll be right back.
All right, no worries. I'll move on to the next story while you're trying to sort that out. The next story I saw comes from Australia. So Kevin, if you're watching, this one's for you. And oops, I've shared the wrong page. I'll try again. This one I want to share. There we go. So it's news out of Victoria in Australia. And I see Chris is back again. Chris, yep. you need to turn on your lower third again.
I shall indeed.
So Victoria is one of the states in Australia, and there's been a lot of discussion about renewables in Australia with Tony Abbott, the Prime Minister, trying to do away with them. Essentially, he's gotten rid of any subsidies for them, and he's saying that they're not that they're useless, but they're unsightly, I think was what he said.
Yeah.
There you go. Tony Abbott recently described wind farms as visually awful and launched a Senate inquiry to investigate their impact. Of course, if wind farms are visually awful, what would you say a coal-fired power plant is? You know, I mean, that's incredibly nasty looking. But anyway, whether or which the Premier of Victoria made an announcement to say that the state is kind of going to buck the trend in Australia, and they're going to roll out a wind farm there with 50 wind turbines worth about 200 million.
Yeah.
They also said that they are going to set a target, a renewable energy target for Victoria of at least 20% within the next 5 years, which, it has to be said, is pretty modest, and they've been kind of slammed for that by various people. But the other side of it is, at least they are doing something, whereas it seems the rest of Australia is content to kind of sit back. So it's good.
Agreed. And to go, 20%. What people have to remember is 20% when your government legislator is against renewables is not something that's easy to accomplish, because they will find ways to punish you in other areas, in budget approval, in other ways. So the 20% actually is pretty good. It's actually, I think it's quite adventurous in that regard, because Tony Abbott is a horrible, spiteful little man. Well, I don't think I said that well enough, but yeah, he will find a way to punish them for doing that.
Yeah.
So,
No. Totally agree. It's it is a courageous move, which, as we've mentioned before on the show, is never a thing you want to be mentioned for in a political context.
It reminds me of there was a thing on Facebook months ago, about it's the thing, it's the context, and it was mentioned specifically about husbands and wives. And the best one was, do what you want. It's like, this is not a dare. Okay, this is not what it sounds like. And then there's another one that's sort of wow, just wow. And and the subtext is, this is really not a good thing.
Yes.
So this is one of those things.
Okay, I've been messaged again by Kevin to tell me that he's based in the US, not in Australia. So my bad there, Kevin. Sorry about that. But he did manage to get onto the show, so that's
fabulous.
That's good. That's good. He's watching it on YouTube, he said.
That's what we like to see.
So I should have remembered that. I think he's based in Philadelphia, if memory serves correctly.
Don't keep digging. Just
yeah, you're right.
You know where it is. Just don't keep digging.
He was showing me photographs last year of his man cave with a beautiful bar. So I'm hoping to get to try that out at some point.
Very nice. Very nice.
Anywho, the next story that I saw that I thought was worth digging into a little bit is this one about LED lighting. Yeah. And basically, LED lighting, we've touched on many times on the show. One of the issues it tends to have is that while it saves you money over its lifetime, the upfront cost is significantly higher than incandescent or even CFL bulbs.
Yes.
But this new technology not only cuts their energy use and greenhouse gas emissions, but it also makes them cheaper.
Yeah.
So this is a new way of manufacturing LEDs, which, as I say, lowers the cost of them and should, reduce that barrier to entry. They are, as I said, they are more expensive up front, but they do drastically reduce the energy. I remember when I started rolling out LEDs in our apartment before we moved to this house, I was replacing 50-watt halogen bulbs with about 5-watt LEDs. So I mean, that's a 90% saving right there. And I see you're holding one up. Go for it.
I actually got a new one or two new ones in. So these ones are actually they're the 4.5s, but they're actually the glass is slightly convex, so it actually magnifies as well.
All right, very good.
So it is pretty good. So that's what's lighting the study at the moment.
What brand are they?
There isn't actually a brand on them. I think they're made in China, so they're an off-brand label in China that I got from Amazon. So that yeah.
Be interesting to see how you get on with them. From my trying out of the LED bulbs, I had a few strips, which would have like 4 or 3 of the halogen bulbs, and as I say, I was replacing them with different LEDs as the halogens blew. And what I was finding was that you see these devices have drivers built into them, and some were not compatible with others. And the best ones I found in terms of compatibility were the Philips ones.
Yeah, the Philips Hue, isn't it? The Hue bulbs?
No, because the Hue replaced the bayonet or screw-in regular incandescent bulbs.
Yeah.
But for the GU10 spots, the Philips have I've forgotten what they're called now, but they have replacements for those as well.
Yeah.
And as I say, the most reliable ones I got were the Philips ones.
Yeah. I find generally that most of the ones have been pretty good. My circuit here, I've been glowing bulbs for ages. There's a short somewhere in my circuit or something like that there, but the LEDs don't glow the same way that the halogens or the incandescents glow. So
cool.
So yeah, it has saved me money even over the last sort of 18 months. So it has, or 2 years, which is good. But the whole point of this here, the yellow phosphor coating on these ones is actually very, very interesting, because LEDs, the temperature of them, it changes with the light. These ones in the office are very, very blue, and I don't like having them in the living room or the bedroom. The phosphor would actually give you a much more brilliant white, or a much warmer white than they would normally. So, which would also, it would increase their uptake, because Lorna hates the blue. She won't let me put the LEDs in the bedroom.
She's right. She's right. The blue is a nasty color. It is. I mean, it's a nasty color. You need to be looking for a temperature in Kelvin of about 3,000 or 2,700, I think it is.
Yeah.
To get a decent bit of warmth off it. By the way, Kevin is going mad here on Facebook Messenger, sending me messages.
Kevin's working.
Kevin, if you could migrate to Twitter, it would help us all out. But not to worry. He's bringing up a very valid point. He's saying here on the Messenger, and I'm getting it on my phone here. He's saying here on Messenger that the LED light, he's installed. Remember, I mentioned his man cave.
Yes.
He's installed LED lights in the wine rack, so that they don't heat up the wine.
That's an awesome one. That is a very good one.
Very clever. And you see that happening in fridges and stores as well. They're replacing the typical bulbs in fridges with LEDs for 2 good reasons. One is the energy savings just from using the LEDs, and the second is the lack of heat that they give out. So you're not heating up a cold space and having to cool it down again.
Exactly.
So nice one. We'll keep going. The next story I saw, let's see, share, and it is over here. Forgetful scientists accidentally quadruple lithium-ion lifespan. I think this is hilarious.
Do you know what this is? This is a. Do you remember the fieldwork fail that we had on Twitter a couple of weeks?
Yes.
This is a lab work fail that is awesome. It's not. It's reasonably funny.
Yeah.
But it just has such a good outcome.
It's serendipity gone mad. It's fantastic.
Absolutely.
So, what the story behind this is, and there's a lot of detail in the article about how the anodes of not LED. I'm on the wrong story. Come back, Tom. Come back. The anodes of lithium-ion batteries are made. And basically, they have to put a coating on them, and they put the coating on for a certain length of time. And these 2 researchers were putting the coating on, and they went off, and they forgot, and the coating kept going on, and they left it on an extra 30 minutes, if I remember correctly from the story. And they said, okay, well, you know, we messed up, but we'll try it out anyway, see if it has any effect. And it had a huge effect, both on the density, but even more importantly on the lifespan of the battery. Apparently the batteries can hold up to 3 times the energy, and also they can last considerably longer in terms of their useful lifespan. So it's, I mean, the 3 times the energy that it can hold is phenomenal, and to me that's almost as important, if not more important, than the lifespan. You know, the 2 things are hugely important for everything we're doing almost these days. You know, our phones, our tablets, our cars. I mean, one of the big issues with cars is you need batteries which are massively energy dense, so that you don't have this range anxiety issue. And also, you want ones that last, so the car has a resale value.
Yeah. Well, again, it comes back to, you know, the energy density is what, and transportability is what's important. The industry and the electricity and to, you know, to how power gets distributed and used. And also that then feeds back into the actual the mechanisms of power production. So if you have very energy dense batteries and are able to move them around easily, then it makes sense that you're going to be able to produce energy from renewable sources that can be away from cities or away from large population centers, and bring them to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the being able to store significant amounts of energy and then cycle it, because those are the 2 things that are important with these batteries: the lifespan, the amount of times they can be powered cycled. That's increasing that is hugely important for utilities, because if they're using them as a storage mechanism, they're often using them for frequency regulation, which means, you know, they're sucking off them, pumping back in, sucking off them, pumping back in very quickly. So you need batteries which can tolerate that kind of abuse. So every week, or almost every week, we're coming across new breakthroughs in battery technology. It's fantastic, and it's go on.
Things like that there, you know, the energy density in those batteries, you're nearly getting to the point where you can actually, you know, in Iron Man 2, Elon Musk had his cameo where he talked to Tony Stark about an electric plane. I know we've seen it with solar impulse, nearly making the entire flight. But when you get to that level of energy density, are you nearly actually getting to a point where the output of the battery is able to break the thrust to weight ratio via the engines to get the plane commercially, you know, a passenger carrying plane?
It's I think we'll get there at some point. We're a bit away from that yet. But, you know, why not? It might take a different technology, but I've no doubt that in years to come, planes will no longer be using fossil fuels to get off the ground. Anywho, we'll trot on.
Could you imagine them if they were using rail guns and gliding? Oh, jeez. Sorry.
The G-force on takeoff would snap people's necks, break ribs, or whatever.
True. Maybe we could get Tony Abbott on one.
Or standing in front of one.
No, well, at least give him a fighting chance. Put him on one.
All right, we'll keep going. The next story is this one from Google, and I thought this was pretty cool until I read to the end. But it is pretty cool. What it is Google Maps can now tell, as you can see in the headline there, if it's worth installing solar panels on your roof. And basically, what they do is they have a project called Project Sunroof, where they look at how much solar power your roof can generate and how much money you could save on electricity costs by adding solar panels. And you can see kind of a screenshot of it here. You can see this particular address, 112 Stanley Street in Redwood City, California, gets 1,830 hours of usable sunlight per year. That roof has 1,700 square feet available for solar panels, and yearly savings of 20-year savings of $13,000. So having that calculated for you without having to do anything except go to the web page and type in your address is absolutely phenomenal. It's really amazing. And the part at the end, which annoyed me, but I guess it's totally understandable, but it annoyed me all the same, is that it's only available for people living in Boston, San Francisco, and Fresno right now. So it's very limited for now. But you got to hope that it will be rolled out much further. And that's often what Google does with these kinds of projects. They start in a small area and then expand from there.
But do you actually know how smart that algorithm is, right? Because to do that, you have to have multiple pictures of that area and then be able to determine the albedo of reflected sunlight coming off the roof to determine the pitch of the roof and all the rest of it, and work it out how much sunlight it actually gets. That algorithm is insanely smart.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
People look at that and go, "Oh wow, I get 1,830 hours of sunlight," but the actual algorithm that potentially goes into that, because the algorithm has to determine the pitch of the roof and the way it's facing, not just also the amount of sunlight it's getting. It can get a lot of that from weather data, but that I'm really geeking out about the algorithm that gives you that. As you can probably tell, it's one of those things where they've done something really, really cool with data that isn't creepy.
Yeah. And we'll get to that in a sec. But I mean, I have a significant amount of roof space here, and a lot of it is south facing. I would love to be able to run that algorithm on my roof, because I'm in sunny climes right here. I have solar, not photovoltaic. They don't generate electricity. What they do is they heat water. Yes. So they're just glass panels with water running behind them, and a tank, and that works really well. Yeah. It works really. I have to just turn on, having a shower in the morning, I just turn on the hot tap ever so slightly, and then turn on the cold tap as well and get scalded. Yeah. Now we've only been living in this house since the 28th of April, so I haven't lived through a winter with the panels yet to see, but it's still, very sunny here in wintertime as well. There's only a few days where it's very cloudy. And even in the cloudy days we've had, there's been no problems. So I'm pretty optimistic.
It may be how well is the hot water tank insulated? You may either need to have your shower earlier or either later in the day, but as you say, there's still plenty of sunlight.
Yeah, and the tank that the water goes into is pretty well lagged anyway. Yeah. So, but that's a good point actually. Yeah, maybe in wintertime a shift to having the shower at the end of the day rather than the start of the day.
Yeah. And let's face it, you have a pool. Yeah.
Have a pool. That's true. That doesn't need to be heated. Let me tell you.
Exactly.
That's where we go to cool down. It's
very much so. Very, very much so.
Anywho, as I said, we talked about Google potentially doing creepy stuff, and right here, next story is Google just created a Wi-Fi router.
Yes,
and that's I mean, on the one hand, it's pretty cool. It is because it's a Wi-Fi router which looks to be pretty simple and straightforward to set up. You can run it from an app on your mobile device if you have Android or iOS.
Yep.
As far as I know, it's only Android or iOS apps created for it. It's got 13 antennae in the router, which is 10 more than my router here.
Yeah.
The 12 of the antennae are broadcasting, and the 13th antenna is listening for congestion.
Yeah.
So it optimizes. It says as well you can choose to optimized for a particular device. So, you know, for example, if you're on your computer and you're downloading video or uploading video, you can choose to, for that device, have the best connectivity for that particular individual device. What I don't know, because it didn't specifically say this, is if there's a device you want to shut off. You know, if your kids are on a tablet somewhere watching YouTube when they should be doing their homework or something like that, you know, can you shut them down remotely?
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
But the other things, it's got Bluetooth built into it as well, and it's got a USB port and a speaker at the top of it. So it's going to be interesting to see, because it hasn't been rolled out yet. It's only starting to be rolled out. So we don't know as yet what the Bluetooth or what the USB will be used for. It's going to sell for around $199 US, which is not cheap.
No.
For routers. So when they launch it, because it isn't, as I said, it's not launched yet. When they launch it, there's going to obviously be some big hoo-ha around the launch, I suppose, to try and get attention for it, because, I mean, we don't know what it is it's going to do. You can imagine, particularly with built-in Bluetooth, you can imagine that it's going to connect and be a hub for IoT devices.
Yeah.
Google have their Nest platform now for in-home devices, and I can see this being something that will talk to them all. And the application that runs and controls this is called OnHub. So
yeah.
Instead of having to open a browser on your computer and type in the 192.168.1.1 IP address and then remember the username and password and open it up and go through the web interface, it's now controllable via, you know, a mobile app, you know, which is nice. And I'm assuming that built into the OnHub mobile app as well will be the ability to then link to and control devices like your Nest thermostat or your smoke detectors or your drop cam or any of the other devices in the whole Nest ecosystem. The biggest concern, obviously, is whether or not this information would be mined and used to present you with ads.
Well, you see, that's the interesting thing. Before the switch to Alphabet, you probably would have said yes. Now that Alphabet is the holding company, is this actually Google, or is it a subsidiary of Alphabet that's running it and not Google? And it doesn't make that clear in the ad. Are they using Google as a legacy term for people who don't know the difference between Alphabet and Google?
Yeah.
Or not?
That's a good question.
So the other thing is that in the UK here, BT have a please
Hive.
I don't want to start a flame war or anything like that there, but for the average consumer, the BT Home Hub is a fantastic little piece of technology. It's got plenty of antennae. You plug it in, it comes pre-configured from BT, and it works really, really well, and the customer doesn't have to do anything. I don't quite understand why somebody would actually go and spend £200 when they get a free, really good home hub from BT that does exactly what they want and has all the really nice information on it, and it's got the WPS button on it as well. So nice. I agree with you that the play is probably around the IoT space, but
the thing that concerns me about Wi-Fi routers is that there are security issues with them that often haven't been addressed.
Oh,
and
God, yeah.
You know, it's if you have one from someone like BT, you would suspect or you would hope that they remotely update the firmware
very
all the time, any new. And similarly with someone like Google, the one I have, you can just see the antenna sticking up behind my head there.
Yes.
That's from Movistar, and it's the Movistar fiber optic Wi-Fi router. Again, same kind of thing. I want to hope that this thing is being updated from time to time? I'm never confident it is.
No, there's really, really scary research out there that the Wi-Fi routers are the general. They push this stuff out and then they don't update it. There are 3 large companies that Black Hat last year. There was a presentation that basically slated the security of the embedded operating system, and they weren't being updated. Yeah. It is scary. Yeah. So it is, but there's a gap there between, I have the BT service, so BT sent me a home hub, which I don't use, but I use their cable router, and then I have my own network device. So in that scenario, who's responsible for securing my infrastructure? Technically it's me, because BT own the cable router. I can't touch that, but that's not doing my Wi-Fi signal or anything like that there. I own my router and wireless device, so it's down to me, and it's out of warranty now with the company, so Netgear are under no obligation to provide me a patch.
Yeah. So, I've used the OpenWRT in the past on a Linksys router.
Yeah.
And that's reasonably secure, and it's updated quite often. Yeah. The thing is, do I really want to be spending my time, doing that? It's doable. It is. I've done it before, and I'm no tech genius. If I can do it, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's one of those things. It's it should be an automatic update. That's what it should. But especially the open WRT, I really, really like that. I'm going to stick that on my Billion. So I am, because Billion's router is useless. It's the worst 200 quid I ever spent. But one of them anyway. There are so many other ones, usually around user input devices. But it's I'm going to use OpenWRT, because on the Linksys and the Netgear and D-Link, it's fantastic. It's just anything with a Broadcom chip on it, slap it on, away it goes, and it's lovely. Such a nicer experience than the normal user interface you get.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree. We'll keep going.
Yeah.
The next story that I thought was pretty cool was this one, and it's on the difference between Google and Facebook as a driver of traffic to news sites. So traditionally, the main traffic to news sites came from Google, but as of quite recently, Google has overtaken the traffic, according to statistics from Parsley. So if I just magnify this graph a little bit here, you can see the main traffic referral sources from May to July 2015. And you can see on the left-hand side here, the Facebook bar is just ahead of the Google sites. Yeah. Not much, but it's a couple of percentage points ahead. And then it's really then there's a huge drop off till you get to Yahoo, Twitter, Bing, other news sites, Drudge Report, News Now, RSS readers, Reddit, etc., etc. The two are out on their own, Google and Facebook. Yeah. And as I say, you can see the kind of battle between them here from April 2012 through to July of this year. Facebook going up and up, and you can see a tweak in the algorithm, obviously just around January 2013, and it starts going up and up. Bit of a drop off in October, and then up again. At the same time, Google started to come down from January 2015, and Facebook has now passed it.
Yeah, I now unfortunately it is taken care of in the data actually, but you must be able to see part of a drop off there with Google Reader.
Yeah. I don't remember when that was.
Appeared in, I think it was 2013. Let me just see a second. So let me see. That did look. It was 2013. So as Google Reader shut down in 2013, in and around the mid-year.
The mid-year. Okay. Well, this is 2013 here to here.
Yeah.
there's a bit of a drop off here, April to July.
Yeah. Well,
Between
it was closed officially in 2013, but they actually stopped the updates before that. They gave you time to get your OPML files out. So
right.
yeah, but yeah.
I'm not sure what this peak here is at the end of 2013.
Yeah.
I mean, if you discount that, you got a line going this way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Pretty much.
Anywho,
that's an interesting story. It does show the dominance of Facebook as a platform.
Sure does. Sure does. Wow. I mean, I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah.
You know, it's.
I actually would have thought Twitter would have been a lot higher there.
Likewise, I would have thought Twitter would have been higher, and I would have thought Google would have been higher and Facebook lower. Now, having said that, my own behavior has changed, and I get most of my tech news these days from Facebook, and it's because I've curated my feed to like anytime I see a news story I'm interested in, and hide posts I'm not interested in. And the algorithm takes that into account for my feed and then feeds me only the type of stories that I like or share.
I must actually spend a bit of time doing that then, because it's something that, it's something that I haven't actually taken the time to do. I get a lot of my stuff from Twitter, so so I must actually use Google, or I must actually use Facebook a lot more.
Yeah, no, Twitter's become far less useful for me for that kind of stuff, unfortunately. Yeah. And I've noticed that in the last 9 months at least now, that Twitter is of increasingly lower value, and Facebook is the opposite, becoming more and more important as a source of news. So it's a pity, but and I'm not sure how Twitter can fix it. But part of it is the interactivity that Facebook presents you with. By that I mean the discussions, particularly news stories, will start commenting on it, and as they comment on it, it gets knocked up in their friends and appears to them as well, and then you get more comments. So it's kind of a positive cycle, nice feedback loop going on there. And you can see it from time to time. You'll put a story in, someone will comment on it, someone else will comment on it, and then someone who has a lot of contacts comments on it, and suddenly you get a burst of more comments once they comment on it. Yeah. It's fascinating to watch.
Absolutely. It is very, very much, very much.
Okay, on we go. The next story I saw comes out of the Microsoft fold, and it is the iOS for Outlook, or Outlook for iOS, I should say, now allows you to open, edit, and send attachments with Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. So if you have an iOS device and you have downloaded Outlook, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, which are all free on iOS now.
Absolutely.
The Outlook app allows you, as it says in the headline there, it allows you to open, edit, and send attachments. So if you're opening a message in Outlook, you can if there are attachments on it, you can open and edit them, or if you have an attachment, you can send it from within Outlook. Also, from within Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, if you have a document that you're creating in Word, Excel, or PowerPoint, there's an option to then send via Outlook. So you click the send via Outlook, it opens up Outlook with the thing attached. So this is stuff that has been in Windows Phone for a long time. Yeah. But has never been in iOS or Android. But according to this article, it's coming to Android soon. And that's not surprising, because any of these updates that we're seeing on iOS, we see them rolled out on Android typically a month or two later. Yeah. So I won't be surprised to see this show up on Android in a couple of months' time. But it's very nice functionality for people who are in the Office space. I don't use Office much myself. I'm more a Google Docs and spreadsheets person. Yeah. But for anyone who does use it extensively, it's really good news.
Yeah, no, it is. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's another reason, if you have Word, Excel, and PowerPoint on your iOS device, it's all the more reason to download Outlook if you haven't already done so, because it's a lovely mail client, I have to say.
It is really nice. It's really good on the iPad, actually, especially like working with spreadsheets and Word documents in on a phone on that type of device is quite difficult. But as soon as you get it on an iPad, it actually becomes a very, very powerful piece of kit.
Yeah,
it does. Very, very powerful.
Yeah. The next story I saw that I thought was interesting was this one, and it's for people, excuse me, who use the Flipboard application. So, or Flipboard site, whatever we're calling it. Flipboard's a nice site for sharing stories, and I do it myself. Most of the stories that I find for this show, I drop them into my Flipboard magazine. So if you want a preview of what's coming any particular Friday, you should check out my magazines on Flipboard. But what Flipboard did a while back was they bought this company called Zite, Z-I-T-E. Now, Zite was one I used before Flipboard, and I really liked it. And one of the things that Zite had going for it was when you were using Zite, you could tell Zite which stories appealed to you and which ones didn't.
Yes.
And similar to the kind of Facebook feed, it curated and delivered stories to you based on the interests that you told it.
Yeah.
So now, after the purchase of Zite, Flipboard are building that into their application as well. And I mean, the presentation on Flipboard is really, really nice. If you use it on a mobile device, it looks really, really nice. It's kind of a magazine-y type interface. It works really well. I like it a lot. It's got a nice web interface as well, although people are using that less and less now and more inclined to be viewing it on tablets or phones rather than on the web.
Do you know what it took me ages to get used to? And it seems so stupid given the name is Flipboard, right? So on a normal page, right, and you get towards the bottom and you flick up to bring what is at the bottom of the page into the mid or the top section of the page.
Yeah.
But in Flipboard, it flips the page because it's called Flipboard.
That's right.
The number of times I still do it, I'm getting to the bottom and I go flick to move it up and it flicks the page and I'm like, go! It's a user error, like, completely, but it's a lovely magazine. It's really, really simple, very well laid out. It's just a pity that the person using it's an idiot.
Well, no, I mean, I disagree. You can't say the user is an idiot. I mean, what they've got to design, what they've got. No, what they've got to do is they've got to design a user interface which is easy enough even for the likes of you.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. But but I like the user interface. I like the fact that it is actually a Flipboard. It does make it very, very clean.
It does, yeah.
In terms of that way, it's it's just not entirely normal. But if I use the app more, then it would get to be normal in that way. So I don't really mind. It only hits me the first time, and then I remember. So it's like the electrified fence. You only touch it once.
No, I think it does take a little bit of getting used to. Yeah. But as you say, once you've used it a few times, then yeah, you know what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, we'll plow on. So this story is a bit of a turnaround from the Microsoft one. As I mentioned, the Microsoft one, the functionality came to iOS first and will come to Android soon enough. This is a bit of a turnaround on that. And WhatsApp, which lots of people use as a messaging app now, WhatsApp has now rolled out its web interface for iOS users. They did it on Android a couple of months ago. And now it's turned on for iOS as well. And I tried it this morning, and it works really well.
I've used it on the Android platform, and it's phenomenal. It's so handy. It means that Phil Leuven and I quite often WhatsApp, and it means that he's on the iOS device and I'm on Android, and I can get him from my desktop, which is phenomenal. But the Viber's had that functionality for a while. So they had to do something. Oh, I
didn't realize Viber had that. I've had Viber on my device for years, and I never realized they had a web interface as well.
There's a desktop client for it, and it is brilliant. So it is. It's really, really responsive. Whose is that? Is that me?
It's not me.
It's me. Hold on. Oh, I know what it is. It's this. Those ads really, really annoy me when they just come up with video. I don't mind video ads. It's when they have sound.
Yeah.
It drives me nuts. It's really embarrassing when you're on a conference call and you're supposed to be listening. It really is.
All you do in that scenario, Chris, is you go, is somebody's video coming on there? Because I'm hearing noise in the background, and quickly mute yours. Find the offending tab and close it.
The one great thing about Chrome is that it gives you the little speaker so you can pick out the tab really, really quickly. That offending tab.
I see that's being built into other browsers now as well, but no, you're right. It's really good. Chrome have had it for a long time.
Well, Microsoft Edge doesn't have it apparently, so Microsoft, take note.
But yeah, the WhatsApp one is good. I've been using WhatsApp for a while as well, and it's really useful. So this is a question I've been meaning to ask. I wonder if I should run a poll on it or something somewhere. Just I'm finding that I'm using lots of different messaging apps.
Oh yeah.
And it just depends on who I'm trying to talk to. And I use iMessage, I use WhatsApp, I use plain old text, I use email, I use there's a few others I've installed that I use occasionally, and it depends, like I say, on who it is I'm talking to. So I'm curious what apps other people use, and it strikes me that because it's so fractured, that there's a huge opportunity for someone to come in and be a what's the word when you gather together all these others?
An aggregator.
Yes.
Aggregator.
Yes.
What you're looking for is, do you remember, what was it? Trillion. So Trillion would do IRC, MSN, Yahoo, all out of a single client.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the trick. But they're the encryption algorithms that are built into these applications now make that probably next to impossible, because the encryption algorithms are obviously built into the devices. You look at the iMessage app. You can't get iMessage except on Apple products. But I myself, I use 5 products. I use WhatsApp, Viber, Hangouts, text, and Twitter.
I use Slack as well. I just lost Chris. That's the problem with using the Microsoft browser for Hangouts. I gotta think. Chris, drop back in then when you get a second. I think your browser just crashed out on you. What I was saying is that what was I saying? That I use Slack as well. Yeah. So internally within RedMonk, we use Slack a lot as a messaging app. So that'd be one of the others I'd add to the list. So if I look, I have a folder of the messaging apps. Welcome back, Chris.
Thank you. Internet Explorer failed me again.
There you go. I was just blaming it. I was just saying, if I look at the folder I have here for messaging apps, the ones I use most would be Skype, WhatsApp, Slack, iMessage, and
Slack. Yes,
I've used Telegram a few times. I have Viber. I don't use it that much. I haven't used it in quite a while. That's about it, really. I have other ones like WeChat and SigGuide and Wicker and FireChat. I have a load of them installed, but the main ones I use, I even have BBM client for iOS here.
Wow.
But the main ones I use are the Skype, WhatsApp, Slack, and iMessage. I don't use Hangouts for some reason. I think the interface for iOS is a bit clumsy.
It is.
So I've used it a few times. But I don't use it that much.
I use it with Lorna. She's probably the main person because she's never had an Apple device. So we both were on Android and we're still on Android. So it works really, really well. It's our iMessage effectively. So from that point of view, it's really good.
There you go. Oh, Kareem's asking what happened to yourself. Apparently you froze on her screen. Good to have you back. Good to have you back.
Absolutely.
So we'll move on. We've only 5 minutes left. Good God, how many stories have we left? 1, 2, 3, 4 stories left. So we're not doing too bad.
I warned you when we were chatting earlier on. You said, "I don't know if we'll get the full hour." I said, "Really, really."
This is us, yeah.
Exactly. We'll have to do this one though. The IoT core.
Yeah, absolutely. So you take this one away, Chris. This is your baby.
Absolutely. So Microsoft announced the new version of Windows 10 on the IoT. So it's built for the Raspberry Pi and the Minnow board Mac. So it's really built at this embedded market and the hacker spaces, and it's absolutely phenomenal because we have had these areas dominated by the Linux, the Raspbian, which is a fork of Debian.
Yeah.
And they've been reasonably friendly at teaching kids and things like that there, but it has required a certain amount of research and stuff to get some of the more difficult stuff done. This is Microsoft really starting to support that area, and it's great to see. So it is in it. Certainly. It'll support things like Scratch, most of all the other programming languages, Ruby and PHP and Perl that typically go on these devices. And then it has improved GPIO performance. So the stuff you see across the top, the things that look like IDE ports or IDE connections, is the GPIO board, which they use for expansion.
That's these guys up here.
Yeah, that's those guys up there. So you can start the attached circuit boards to it. Cameras, motors, all that sort of stuff, and as an exciting educational electronics platform, that's brilliant. And then whenever you get into the because on a Raspberry Pi you can run a media server off there. It has an HDMI port there. It's got a mini USB. It's got a gigabit network port. It's a vastly powerful machine.
Yeah.
So it is, and the addition of Windows means that it's not as scary for people who don't want to be seen as really, really geeky. So it's phenomenal.
And did you download it and try it out? I know they only announced the public release of the new one today, but they were releasing betas earlier.
Yep. I have the beta down, so I just haven't had a chance to do anything with it. I'm actually up to my tonsils at the moment with some really interesting SAP work projects. So that's been taking up my time. So that has, but it is definitely on the to-do list. So it is.
Well, now you won't have to use a beta now that they're bringing out the IoT core.
Exactly.
Nice. We'll move into transportation, and I saw this story from Tesla. Well, not from Tesla themselves, but an analyst has come up with a whole new business model and predict the stock goes up 91%. So now might be the time to buy some Tesla stock.
Wow.
Basically what the guy is saying is that he thinks that Tesla, when they bring out their Model 3,
yes.
That they're going to use that to launch a mobility platform. In other words, what they're going to do is they're going to start selling transportation miles. So you say you call up a Tesla app on your phone and you say, I'm here, I want to go there, and a self-driving Tesla arrives at your door, you sit into it. So they're going to take on the kind of Ubers and etc. Because they're rolling out with over-the-air updates, they're rolling out autonomous driving already to the vehicles that are already on the road. This is an obvious next step.
Yeah,
it's a very different business model, but they could very well do it. And I mean, what they could do is allow Tesla owners to allow their cars to be part of a ride-sharing scheme, where, you know, I have my Tesla, I go to work wherever. Now I work out of home, so it wouldn't apply to me, and I can't afford a Tesla anyway. But you know,
but you are going to Tesla World.
I am speaking of Tesla World. That's right. I am. That's awesome. That's really
totally.
that's great.
Totally.
Martin Gill had sorted that out for me. But yeah, so if I had a Tesla and I was driving to work, I could drive to work, and then instead of it sitting in the car park for the next 8 hours, I could just, you know, log into my Tesla app and say, okay, car's free for the next 8 hours, take it away. And it starts driving and picking other people up and taking them wherever. And then when I need it at 5 o'clock or whatever it is that afternoon, I'd say, okay, bring the car back. Car arrives back, I hop into it and head home. And in the meantime, my car's been making money for me.
Yes.
You know, I mean,
great.
That's not the business case they've made out in this article, but because in the article they just speculate about Tesla doing it. But if there are, you know, let's say 100,000 Teslas on the road at that point, it would make a huge amount of sense for Tesla to do it with the people who already own those cars.
Yep. No, absolutely. Absolutely. It's such a, it is a no-brainer. It is really a no-brainer. So it is, but it's very exciting.
Oh yeah.
It really is. Like you, if you think about it this way, you know, if you live in an apartment block, you know, as well, could you imagine actually paying your communal fees, right? And built into your communal fees is actually the ability to use the block Teslas.
Yeah.
And you have a ride share, and you say, I want to take the car from here to here at 8 a.m. and, you know, the app will tell you, yes, that's fine. And, you know, then you end up with you end up having it. It's just really exciting, actually. Yeah, actually, that would be brilliant. Granted, your communal fees would go up by a considerable amount, but yeah, the not having a car to worry about would also make life a lot easier.
The car loan payments go away, the car insurance payments go away, the road tax goes away. You know, it's the parking fees goes away. You know, it makes a huge amount of sense.
Exactly. That certainly does. Certainly does.
Two stories left. The next one slightly related, although I'm not sure how relevant it will be long term, and it is about England starting to test what they're calling electric motorways. These are basically roads that can charge electric vehicles as you drive along them.
Yeah.
Now, it sounds like an interesting idea, and they have tested similar technology in South Korea, but they use kind of metal plates. What they're talking about in this test is that they will be putting cables under the road to test charging vehicles as they drive along the road. There's a good point made, though, where they say that, you know, I'm not sure it makes sense to try this out because, as we mentioned earlier, battery technology is increasing, and the range being added to cars is increasing roughly every 6 months. So it's not clear there will be a need for this long term, because it's one of these things that will take a while to test and roll out, and it will be expensive to roll out. On the other hand, you know, if they don't try it out, and the battery technology doesn't go the way that people would hope it would go, you know, then that's an opportunity lost. So I guess it's good to try it and see if it works, and if it does, great, and if it doesn't, you know, not too much lost.
Well, I find it interesting because when you look at the larger vehicles, you know, the battery technology itself, you know, the discharge capacity of the battery is fixed, but the weight of the vehicle is not fixed, and therefore the power output has to be larger to move a larger vehicle, which means the discharge is faster. So if the battery technology, as you say, doesn't increase at the right rate, then having the charging plates will actually offset the discharge requirements, and that will make it more economically viable. But ultimately, they have to try it. They have to give it a go.
It could also be a way of getting rid of toll bridges.
Yep.
Charge people to use these, charge them a set amount per year or whatever it is, or charge them for the amount they download as they drive along the roads. And that way you could, you're then charging people for use of the road as well as use of the electricity. And as I say, do away with toll bridges or toll booths or whatever it is.
Most of the sensible ones use APN for their tool. The M50 use APN, automatic plate recognition, which is brilliant. The one on the M1 doesn't, which is really annoying. But the one on the M50 down in Dublin uses APN.
I've used that actually, and I used it in a rental car, and then went online and paid afterwards. So it's interesting. Last story of the day, and we're sticking with transportation.
Oh yes,
this could be very interesting. There's been speculation for quite a while about whether Apple are going to produce a car or not, and there was some speculation about would they buy Tesla.
Yeah,
and Google are doing it. Google are producing a car and playing with it. Apple, of course, are a far more secretive organization. And while there's been speculation about it, a lot of people kind of poo-pooed it and said, "Nah, that'll never happen." And the experimenting they're doing is just to flesh out their Maps application, which could do with a bit of fleshing out. But it turns out that they are actually interested in producing a car, because there's this Go Mentum station, which is a former naval facility apparently, which is used for testing autonomous vehicles, and it's got all kinds of things like traffic lights and intersections and things built into it. And Apple have applied to use it, according to a letter that The Guardian came across.
Yeah.
I say came across, I'm sure someone kind of forwarded it to them, but anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, and I'm sure Apple aren't too impressed that the word got out. But it turns out Apple are trying to get hold of that facility to test what can only be assumed to be an Apple autonomous vehicle, or an Apple vehicle of some kind. It would obviously be electric. It would obviously, being Apple, it would be cool looking with a nice interface.
Absolutely.
And expensive.
Yes. Well, of course it would be.
But I mean, cars are quickly becoming more and more mobile computers.
Yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense for someone like Apple to get into this space. It's surprising that Microsoft aren't going this route as well, I guess, given that. Having said that, I'm a big Apple user. My desktop is an Apple. My tablet is an Apple. My phone is an Apple.
Yes.
Will I buy an Apple car? I didn't get the watch.
Nope.
And I thought about it, and I looked at it, and I waited till it launched, and I checked the specs and the price, and I just said, you know what? No, it's too expensive for what little it delivers, and it'll be out of date in 12 months when they produce the Apple Watch 2.
Yeah.
So didn't do that. And I have to think that if Apple are bringing out a car, it'll be one that is in the higher end, like Tesla. Again, not something I could justify spending that much money on. For me, I need a 5-seater car, which can do. So the longest journey I take from here is 220 kilometers. That's from here to Malaga.
Yes.
If I have a car that I can be sure will do that 220 kilometers. Now that's over mountains, so there's a big climb on that. So it would want to be a 300 kilometer without stopping.
Yes.
At least, and a lot of it's motorway driving as well. So I'd want to be very sure before I do it. The alternative is to sell the car I have now and not buy a replacement car, and then just rent a car every time I need to go to Malaga.
Good too.
And that would save a lot of money, I'm sure. So I don't know. The bottom line, I guess, is personal transportation is going to change enormously in the next 10 years.
Yeah, no, it is massively. I don't expect Anna actually to probably even have a driving license as such.
Yeah,
I would be surprised, and certainly she may get her first one, but I very much doubt it'll be renewed. Because, by the time,
yeah, sorry, I'm laughing because Karine Tillotson has just said on Twitter there that she's hoping that Microsoft doesn't get into driverless cars, given there are too many crashes in Microsoft already.
Do you ever remember the thing? Unix cars will run on 5% of the roads, but run faster and more reliably. And your car, all of the fault lights in your car, if they were run by Microsoft, will be replaced by one engine light that'll be a general engine fault, and then your airbag will ask you, "Are you sure?" just before it deploys. It was one of those ones about it was 97, 98, so it was when the internet was first coming of age.
Yeah, and you have to close all windows and open them again if it crashes.
Yes, exactly. and for some reason, you'll just accept this as normal. Oh man. Although Apple was not really in the position it was now, I'm sure you will.
Oh yeah.
There'll be one where you can only drive Apple cars around the racetrack or something like that there, but they'll be the best cars ever to drive.
You can only drive them on Apple roads.
Yes.
Oh man. All right, well that's our stories for this week, guys. It's been good. It's been fewer stories this week because, like I said at the start of the show, I didn't do my homework this week. I was on holidays, so sorry about that. But it was still good fun. We still had one or two interesting stories, I think.
Absolutely, thoroughly enjoyable.
All right, and we'll be back again same time next week with a few more stories, I have to think.
Yes, I think so.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Catch you all next week. Thanks, Chris, and thanks everyone for your time and interest.
Cheers.